Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Brewer? Here. Trustee Cutter?
Here.
Trustee Grant? Here. Trustee Tate? Here. Trustee Todd? Here. Trustee Zupan? Here.
Okay, I'll accept the motion to go into executive session for the purpose of litigation and real estate. Moved by Trustee Collins, second by Trustee Tate. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Carter?
Here.
Yes.
Yes.
Trustee Grant? Yes. Trustee Tate? Yes. Trustee Todd? Yes. Trustee Zupan? Yes. Trustee Brewer?
Motion carried. I will be right back. Okay. Okay, item number 4. I have a presentation, or we'll have an explanation of the ordinance providing the issuance of a general obligation bond, alternative resource, Series 2018. The amount not to exceed $2.5 million for the purpose of financing the cost of certain capital projects within the village, funding certain bond issuance costs, and providing certain amounts of capitalized interest on the bonds, and also an ordinance providing for the issuance of a general obligation bond, refunding bonds, Series 2018B of the Village of Sauk, Village Cook and Will, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $4.3 million for the purpose of Okay, I thought it was changed to 4.3, so you say, okay, well then we're gonna find out exactly what it is. Just wanted to give an overshot, and we have Mr. Durham here that's going to explain what it is that we're doing. We talked about it before. I think the names and the numbers have changed, and he's going to explain that to everybody. Thank you very much, Trustee Todd. And also Bob's going to be here too, so.
Yes, here we are again.
Okay. You guys know already, if you don't say to the mic, you know what's going to happen, so.
Okay, Mayor, appreciate that. Again, I'm Chuck Durham with McKenna Capital. We are the financial advisor for the village. As you know, we've been here a few times over the last several weeks to discuss the very matter you have in front of you. So there's really nothing different about tonight other than this represents a concrete step on behalf of the village to give us directions, Bernardi directions, and the whole team directions to take the bond issues to market and to try to place them. So what you have before you tonight are draft ordinances for each of the bond issues, as the mayor just described. The one clarification I will make is the trustee pointed out, the appropriate amount for the 2018 B bonds is not to exceed 4.5 million to 4.3 million. The 4.3 million was a error that was placed in the original document by bond counsel. So the correct amount that we're asking you to authorize is not to exceed 4.5 million for the 2018 refunding bonds. Beyond that, the numbers that we've presented to you before are pretty much the same. The purposes are the same. The 2018 A bonds are for the purpose of an attempt to produce an amount of approximately $2 million to be used in TIF 2 and 3 for capital improvements. That has not changed. The 2018 B bonds are still for the purpose of replacing the 2002 A bonds with basically cheaper interest rates and savings for the village. That purpose has not changed. As I mentioned, Bob is here tonight. We have been looking at the numbers over the last few weeks. They're basically the same as presented to you about 4 weeks ago. So with that, I believe you have before you copies of the ordinances, perhaps even the red line version of those ordinances that, with the changes that's taken place over the last week as we continue to work with bond counsel to make further edits. Most of them are clarifications. Some of them are sharpening up the definitions. And the whole idea is to put these in final form so that when you get them before you next Monday night, you'll be prepared to say yea or nay to both ordinances. With that, I thought rather than me going through them page by page, as you know, they're rather lengthy documents, I thought it would be more productive if we just pause here and see if you have questions about the documents, whether in general or with respect to specific provisions.
Yeah, so sorry, I'm going to start off by asking if you could please maybe email us the revised documents, because as I'm looking at the 2.5 million 2018 A bond ordinance, and I'm looking at the edits that were provided tonight, I see that there's page numbers to go with those edits, but yet the ordinance that we were given Friday don't have page numbers, so I'm already starting out trying to figure out what goes where and can't make heads or tails of it. So I'm at a loss already.
Yeah, sometimes passing out the black line documents is a danger, because what happens with the black line, obviously, it changes, shifts the text, the page numbers, so it's often difficult to do direct comparison. But the black line copies you have do not have page numbers on them?
That has 80-some pages worth of a document.
Is that just the pages with the changes on them? Would you mind, could I take a look at that one? Just
Sure.
Identify it? To answer your question, we would be glad to provide email versions of it. Yeah. Okay.
The original papers from 46 to 68.
Okay.
They're not in the packet, so, there's a lot missing out of the packet. And even at the last page, start ends on 82, so there's something missing between 70 and 82. Just
Yeah. Yeah, I think in both cases, what you have are the pages that change. And that's the confusion as opposed to the full document. So maybe, do you still have the original one that you got with the full original?
Yeah, the clerk has it.
I did not send in their original package.
Could you use the mic, please? We can't hear you back here at all.
I'm sorry. You can just ask nicely. I'll accommodate. Forgive me.
Thank you.
On the original, included were a number of pages that dealt with the certification that the clerk and the mayor would fill out. And so I did not make copies of all of those except for the very last, I think, which I couldn't separate out. So I did cut and paste out some of the items just for copying's sake for you to read now for tonight's meeting. But I had every intention of giving you every page that you needed to actually vote on.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot more missing here.
Okay, Beth, don't worry about it. I'm going to email it to you, okay? Thank you.
Yeah, if you have the original document from a week ago, you don't? Okay. We'll make sure then that you get the full documents with all of the changes. Suffice it to say that the intent of the ordinances are, as I just described. A lot of the documents are somewhat boilerplate with respect to Illinois state law and some of the IRS tax laws. So some of that is going to stay the same in any document that you look at of this nature. What we really need to focus on, you should look at the whole document, don't get me wrong, but what we really need to focus on with respect to the action that'll be before you next week are the specific parameters, specific terms that we're asking you to authorize us to take out the market. For example, those are included. So instead of trying to get you to flip through pages you don't have, why don't I just go through each of the ordinances with Bob help, and I'll try to identify the parameters for each ordinance that we're asking you to consider, and then Bob and I could come back next Monday before you're asked to take any action to respond to any more questions once you've had a chance to consume the whole document.
Okay.
Tuesday.
These edits that you have right here,
Right.
okay, these are what everyone got,
Okay.
okay. These are the ordinances that are here, but they're not in here.
Okay.
So basically, because if we do that, then they'll have to, I mean, we can go over the edits now and just make sure that they're incorporated in the ordinance when they get by next Tuesday. But if you want to go over the edits, which means everything that you changed, we can go over that now. And they have that in front of them. They have that in front of them. So
Okay.
everybody should have that in front of them. And the ordinance, I'm sure they had the ordinance that was written before the edits.
Yeah, I rather almost focus on the ordinance before the edits, because a lot of the edits is just verbiage, it's definitions. The really pertinent part of this, as was represented in the original ordinance without the edits, what we really need to get across for you are the parameters. Yeah. Oh, it's not okay. 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 So why don't I start with the 2018 A bonds, and we'll just roll through it that way, and then you can stop me whenever there's questions to go over. Okay, first of all, for the 2018 A bonds, the major parameter is that we're asking you to authorize an amount not to exceed $2.5 million. The idea behind the $2.5 million is to produce a net of $2 million. Some of the additional space is going to be used for cost of issuance, capitalized interest, to pay interest for a year before the first maturities are due, then the TIF revenues take over. Other than that, we'd like to leave, we don't think the actual issue is going to be $2.5 million, but we want to leave enough space so if something changes in the market over the next few weeks, we'll be able to take action without coming back to you for more authorization. The point of the $2.5 million is that if it ended up being $2.6 million, we have no authority to do that. We'd have to come back to you and get extra permission. I was supposed to hear what you guys said.
Which one is the red line? You want the red line right now?
Just before we leave. Okay. So I'm going before me now, the one you have to yes for 2018. Okay? No, that's the one. Okay. The next major parameter is on page 25 under Article 7. That's not going to be easy. Okay. Okay, but, right.
The edit, are you talking about the edit? Edit does have pages. No. On the original?
They have the original.
No, it doesn't have
So
pages.
you have the original.
No,
Right.
edit doesn't.
So just tell us what our,
Okay.
You got secrets up there, we can't hear you.
They're confused, give them a minute.
Okay, that's
Article 2's authority and purpose. It's going to be page 7 from what we got Friday.
Right. Jump in anytime, Bob. Okay, the next page parameters on Article 2. It would be on page 8, which is the interest rate. So what we need to make sure you do is provide us with authority to go out and negotiate in the market appropriate interest rates. The goal would be to come back to you with the lowest interest rates possible. In this case, though, we need to set a ceiling. And the ceiling in this case is that we would not be able to go out to the market and sell the bonds at a coupon that's more than 5%. Okay, so again, if we leave you and we go out to the market and someone wants to buy the bonds at 6%, we would have to say no. We'd have to come back to you and get permission. Again, we don't expect that to happen. We expect the interest rates to be substantially below 5%. The point of this parameter is that it can't be above 5%. And again, just overall, for the audience, that's why we call this a parameters ordinance. In other words, you're setting a ceiling for us, you're setting boundaries for us that we can't go beyond without coming back to you for permission.
on what page is the illustration?
Okay, on page 8,
This is on page 7. Are we on the edit or are we on the 7?
We're already reading.
okay, and that's why Bob mentioned was Article 2.
Yeah.
So let's try it. Yeah. Okay.
The other, if you look right below the 5%, it says in principal amounts not to exceed $400,000 in a year. And also, the bonds cannot mature before 2018 or after year 2030. So that's all in that same sentence. So basically, the parameters we're setting are not to exceed $2.5 million, not to borrow over 5%, not to issue bonds more than $400,000 each year, and then not to issue the bonds past 2030, which is when the TIF, it'll be the last collections for the TIF, so we're lining that up when the TIF expires. So those are the main parameters in regards to the pricing of the bonds. A lot of the other information you have in front of you is the security of the bonds, which is not any different from the 2018 Bs, the refunding bonds, and the As, and all the other TIF bonds that you currently have outstanding. Basically, all payable from TIF 2, TIF 3, on parity with each other, therefore they're all paid at the same time. None of them are senior to any of the other bonds. A lot of this is the various accounts that are held with Amalgamated Bank and how that money flows through the waterfall, and then more of the statutory state language and things like that. But the big thing to look at is the pricing parameters and the not to exceed numbers. That's what you're giving authorization not to go above.
I have a couple nitpicky questions. So I see references to DTC all over this, and I'm assuming this is pretty much a form document. Do we care that it's officially DTCC these days, not DTC anymore?
No.
Does it matter?
DTCC is just that's just the
Parent
name
company?
of it, and that's the clearinghouse that pays the bondholders.
Right.
So the money goes directly there, and they pay the bond.
The other thing is, actually, in this same paragraph, we're talking about their fully book order entry form, but yet several pages back, and this holds true for both ordinances, we're talking about governing replacement of lost, destroyed, or defaced bonds. How can you lose something that's in book order entry form?
Well, there is actually a bond for every maturity, one bond that DTC holds. And
Okay,
hold
but they
that in
never
their
let it out of their vault, right?
Yeah, exactly. But the vault
Like I
has,
said, it was nitpicking.
it is, yeah, it has flooded though. They have had issued new bonds, but that only happened one time.
So the 2018A. It's supposed to cover, up to $2.5 million to refinance, the bonds for the 202 series. Is that what-
No, this one is for the new projects, the road projects and other TIP projects we discussed previously. The Bs are for the refinancing.
We use for refinancing. So this is for the road project. So this is, 2.5 million that we're asking for the road projects, and then we're asking for additional 2 million. Didn't they see something here about $4 million?
That's the B. So the B is that's the refinancing of the 02As. That's the not to exceed 4.5.
Okay.
That's
so-
just pure refinance.
Okay. The refinancing is the B, and it's gonna cover 202A, and B series, right? So we're gonna refinance the B at $2.5 million.
Could you use the mic, please? We
But
cannot
I
hear
don't want
back.
to say it out loud, 'cause I'm trying to get it out here.
No, the B series is refunding the 02As. The 2018As is the new borrowing for the not to exceed 2.5 million for the road projects.
For the road projects. So the road projects is covering what it's on. It's brand new? Okay. So all this, all they put it together.
It's two different ordinances. The one you have in front of you is for the 2.5, which is the brand new bond. The other one, the 2018B, is for the 4.5, which is the refunding of the 2002A bond.
So we asked for something like this. That's fine.
For the 2.5 million, yes.
Right. So this is the first time this is.
No, this is
Sorry,
what we
we
were
talked about that
through.
before when they were here last time.
Well, the last, I think, 3 board meetings, we've gone through all of the necessary statutory steps to issue. So it's nothing new.
The total will be 4.5. 4.5.
For the refinancing.
Right.
Did you want us to go through the Bs as well?
Well, I mean, is this, I just want to make sure, first of all, that the 2018 A's, are there any more questions on, before we get to the $4.5 million bond, but are there any more questions about the first one? And we'll try to get, we're not going to try, but we'll get this all incorporated into one ordinance with all the corrections included.
Make sure I understand, Mayor, there's still gonna be 2 ordinances.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. No, I'm saying this is one. And
That's
the
the
other
first
one we're getting ready to discuss now. So right now, I'm talking about the edits for this one will be incorporated into this particular ordinance.
Correct.
So are there any more questions again on the 2018 A bond? And as was stated, this is for the road repairs that are needed over there in TIF 2 and 3. Okay. Now we can discuss the next one, which will be the 2018 which 2018 B bond, and the edits that were brought into that. That's for the $4.5 million. And this is strictly just refinancing this bond, this money, this is just so we can pay less money.
Correct.
Well, I'm saying, well, the TIF is paying everything, so it's not gonna cost the taxpayers anything, but it's just saving the TIF.
Correct. So this is a refinancing, like you're refinancing your mortgage on your house. The O2A bonds are currently outstanding. They're payable from the TIF, same security as the other bonds we discussed, payable from TIF 2, TIF 3. This is a refinancing for savings. We're not changing the term. We're basically just issuing new bonds at a lower interest rate than the O2A bonds currently have to provide interest savings on the bond issue. So the parameters for this issue are not to exceed 4.5 million. I think the confusion came in before, which was originally it was 4.3. That's actually not to exceed 4.5. So that parameter is not to exceed that number. And if you turn to that same section, Article 2, Authority and Purpose, I think it's page 8. They have the other parameters listed. Again, the not to exceed 5% is listed for the interest rate. This issue not to exceed 1.2 million for any year in principal amount, commencing not before 2018. And this issue is a much shorter issue. This issue matures June 1st of 2022, which matches up, so we're not extending the maturities. But those are the main parameters from a pricing standpoint that we're getting authorization for.
I don't have my information, but what's the interest rate that we're paying on that bond right now?
It's 5% right now.
So you're saying not to exceed 5%?
Yeah.
Why would we?
Well, we're not going to issue the bonds unless we've got savings.
Okay.
So,
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
but that's a coupon rate of 5%. So someone could, not to get too confusing, but someone could come in and require a 5% coupon and then pay us a premium for those bonds, which yields out to, let's say, 3%. So that 3% is going to provide that savings over the 5-year credit.
Any other questions? And also, this one will also be incorporated into the ordinance, the edits, so we can do that.
Yeah, we'll make sure we get it all, each in one ordinance with page numbers.
Okay.
Do both of these have refunding features? Sorry. Both of these have refunding features?
The Bs will not because they're too short.
Okay.
In 2022, basically 3.5, 4 years out, it's not going to make sense to have a call feature on those. But the other issue will have a 10-year call feature on it, like all the other.
Okay, because I thought I saw something in here that showed a call feature. That's why I was asking.
I think it says it will include a call feature as determined after the pricing of the bond. So it leaves it open-ended. If somebody comes in and give us a call feature on the refunding bonds, we're definitely going to take it. We're not going to market it with that because I think the interest would be too high.
On page 8 here, this is up to exceed, not to exceed 1.2 million for bond termination.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we'll put this on the agenda next week to be voted on. And financially, if you have any questions between now and then, let me know and I can forward them to Mr. Dorr. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming out. Hope you have a great Thanksgiving.
You as well. Thanks for having us.
So
Appreciate it.
we're gonna get a completed copy with all the changes before, about Monday.
And you're going back on
have the edits that are here. I mean, no, you're gonna have it all together. She's just gonna put it all together into one, because it is not in, this is edits and this is.
What they sent today, this morning, they sent 4 documents. 2 of them were the edits for which we received for the 2 different ordinances. Then they turned around and sent the regular black line version, which you will get on Friday in your packet. I decided that I thought that it would be easier for you to follow their red line when you compare it to what was presented to you last week. So that's why you have the red line version. They sent 4 documents, as I said. You will get the second set, which is the complete ordinance on Friday.
Okay, but to Trustee Brewer's point, that's going to be a boatload of reading from Friday to Monday or Tuesday for each of us. So if there's any way we could maybe get those sooner.
You asked for me to email them,
Yeah.
and I said that I would
Yeah.
email them.
Perfect.
But still, you want your package as well. So I'm going to send it twice. I'm going to email it, and I'm going to make copies. Everybody does not have capabilities of making copies. So they may want to spend their Thanksgiving holiday weekend reading all of this massive information. So I would like to make certain that you all are totally prepared. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
No, they're going to try to test for you.
All right, the next item, public comment. Everybody know? Yes. Okay, all questions, comments will be directed to the mayor. Each speaker may comment on any item. Matter pertaining to the business of Sauk Village, each speaker is allowed 1 opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes and may not engage in debate or counter discussions. Please state your name as you come up.
Judy Castier. First of all, the bond stuff that you just had that we didn't hear 95% of. What are the bonds for? What is the money going to be used for? How come this hasn't been discussed before as far as what the money is going to be used for and who's going to have control over that? On the police department, I'd like to know if the new chief has a contract. I'd like to know if the police department has had anybody in there to do a thorough cleaning. I'd like to know what decision was made with the furniture, but since you got rid of Kowalski, are we back to square one with the new chief? Hiring and firing policies, according to what I've been reading, is illegal the way it's being done. State statutes and laws and ordinances are disregarded intentionally. On the FOIAs, obviously somebody who doesn't know what's going on is doing the FOIAs. They are now being sent to us asking for an additional 5 days for every single FOIA you send in, and it's not signed. So even the simplest of questions, and it's asking for an additional 5 days. Why? We've got people in this village hall. What are they doing? You're getting rid of people, getting new people, and obviously the new people don't know what the hell they're doing. I would like to know on our police department, are we ever going to get those 2 officers replaced? And if not, why not? We're getting all this money, I mean, over $6 million you're asking for. What are we, with bonding, what are we gonna do about our police department? We had another murder over the weekend, but of course our crime rate is down according to the village, but not to the state.
1 minute.
Say it again?
1 minute.
Okay. And I'd like to know why the trustees do not ask the questions that the public wants to know about. You sit there and you vote yes, and you don't ask any questions. We're sitting here tonight, not one person asked about the money and what are we gonna do with it? Why do we need it? I wanna know, are we getting new bonds to pay off the bonds we already have? Is this gonna be a vicious circle where you can't pay it off, so you get some more bonds to pay that one off and keep going around in a circle? That's it.
My name is Zenona Ayers. I addressed these comments to the administration and the residents. While working on your campaign for mayor, I could not believe how naive I was to believe all your promises of a new and better Sauk village. I should have realized that when there was so much inner chaos among your own volunteers. I kept on asking your now secretary, where are the volunteers and the residents to help out? My answer was always, it will get busier, but unfortunately, it never was. I can see the same dysfunctional chaos in this now current administration. Trustees are limited power of the purse string, as well as being kept in the dark on the day-to-day operations of the village. One cannot continue to focus only on the businesses, as they bring no revenue to the village, only to TIF. The residents continue to see high water bills, taxes, and crime in this village rise. My own family members have been victimized on several occasions. Newly incoming homeowners and renters shortly after moving to the village realize that between their rent and or mortgage, high water bills, plus the rise in crime and taxes, are unable to sustain a decent life for their families in this village. Renters leave and homeowners unfortunately are stuck, as their homes are worth very little. You almost have to give your home away. You also continue to oust longtime employees with years of vast experience and replace them with non-experienced employees that have to be trained. Majority of these employees have no clue to what they are doing, and I know that from experience. I come here, and they're just like, huh, okay, what they are doing. And few longtime employees fear for their jobs. That's uncalled for. You continue to run this village on lies, fear, patronage, and broken promises. Always remember, the residents will not forget your failed promises on election day.
Linda Washington. Tonight I'm going to talk about a few different things. First of all, I'm going to talk about safety here in Sauk Village. With everything that has occurred the last week, it just makes it more evident that residents have a need to not feel safe in their own homes here in Sauk Village. And I am hoping that with the new chief, that you all will actually sit down and will target some of the hot spots in Sauk Village that need immediate attention as far as more police patrol and surveillance. All of us can say on our different blocks and in our different neighborhoods, except for a couple of subdivisions, where the hot house is, or where the drug house is, or where the gangbangers are, or where the cars come in and out all day long. I am hoping that they will at least patrol those blocks a little bit more, because people are moving out of Sauk Village. People don't feel safe here. They want to move. I have been talking to people for the last 2 weeks, and they see no safety. I know that we have a public safety program. I don't see any evidence of it other than meeting here at the Rotunda where it's safe with 2 or 3 people once a month for the last 2 years, but there is no one engaging on the street, knocking on doors, talking to residents, asking them what's happening on your block. Nobody even knows your name. Don't nobody even know who you are. I was at the school board meeting, another subject last night, and I heard a request for a program that's going to be going on at the village, requesting donations for, I think it's Christmas baskets for food, and to ask every single school and to ask every single church in the community to come and to bring enough food so that they can pass out baskets, I think for Christmas or whatever it's for. And the person that's doing it, I applaud them and kudos for them for trying to do that. But we should have that same effort for any resident that want to do something positive in the village. I personally, after a year of not doing it, returned to passing out book bags. And I was told that the staff, as well as your administration, Mayor Burgess, told businesses, do not give to the book bag giveaway. If they come around and ask for donations, don't buy the book bags or don't give any money to it. Those book bags were not for me. We still passed out over 500. It didn't hurt me at all. But it just shows residents, when you all are asking for volunteers, nobody wants to volunteer when they are beaten up and browbeaten because of who they are. I could not volunteer another year next year, and you sat there and said, why am I passing out book bags? So it looks like it depends on who you are. Whatever you want to do in the village, it's okay to ask for donations, go and ask all the schools and churches and residents to give, and nobody won't bother them to tell them, no, don't support that. But then if somebody else wants to do something in the village, you can go out of your way to tell people, oh, don't support that. And it's all for the residents. We'll never have unity like that. It's a travesty.
Pat Couch. He's busy writing, I'll wait.
I don't have the recorder here, so I don't know what to say. I haven't read it down.
A couple weeks ago, it was brought,
No. My phone dropped me off.
a couple weeks ago, it was brought up about the phone system here in the village hall. And I had the understanding that the mayor was going to look into it, find out, resolve it. Well, evidently that has not happened, because as a resident, I got a call from a resident that asked me, what is going on at this village hall? I said, don't ask me, go talk to village hall. You don't get answers here. The phone, she said, rang and rang and rang, and finally went to a voicemail. She left a voicemail. This was just this morning, and she's never gotten a call back as of when I left my house. So if there's a problem with the phone system, and we're paying a good dollar for that phone system, I'm sure, I don't know why it hasn't been resolved. It's been how many weeks now since this new phone system was put in? And if you don't have the people to answer the phones that stand up here behind the desk, which we've all seen, eating, drinking, and the phone's ringing off the wall, maybe you need to get a secretary to answer the phone. Thank you.
Okay, first item, That's something the chief is going to be addressing as far as the furniture. We talked about it. He's looking at getting furniture in there, but my thing is, yes, it is nice to have furniture, but I'm looking for the police officers to be out on the street. And that's, you know, they come in and they do their work in the police department. They write their, you know, they can even write reports in the cars. I'm looking for more of a presence out than in. But you're right, that furniture hasn't been taken care of in more than, at least, that I know of, 7 years. That's looked like that for at least 7 years. So hopefully, and it will be addressed, because I asked it to be addressed 2 years ago, and it wasn't. So I'm hopefully, and I'm pretty sure that it will be taken care of. And but as I stated before, that wasn't the first priority. I asked for it to be done, but I'm looking to have police officers. I don't want to see police officers in the police department unless they are detaining criminals, writing up or booking someone. Outside of that, I would like to see them on the street. As far as an illegal policy for a police officer, everything that we did was by the book. As far as appointing a police officer, that was my I recommended it and the board voted on it. That's where it's always been. That's the way it's always been since I've been a trustee. The mayor made the recommendation, the board voted on it, they voted up or down. That's the way, that's the only way that it is, that it goes. The board, I mean, the village doesn't hire anyone. That's the case, we're going to get anybody hired if we have to wait on something like that. As far as FOIAs, I understand that some of the FOIAs we asked to have them a 5-day extension, but the FOIAs are being answered. So I don't know where that's coming from, that the FOIAs are not being answered. They are. But we get a lot of voluminous FOIAs. We get a lot of FOIAs. We got one FOIA that's going to take 5,000 pages. I mean, you know, if the person wants to pay for that, fine. But, you know, when you got to understand when you ask for something, I mean, if you're asking for that, you have to be clear. If you want a specific item, fine. But if you ask general, then that's what it is. So that's why it may take a little time for that particular, but that doesn't mean that's all of them. No, it's not. We try to answer all of them as we get them. As far as you saying people in Village Hall not doing anything, okay, well, that's your opinion. You're entitled to it. I'm not going to argue that. I cannot sit up there because I'm not sitting right there watching what you're looking at. So if you say a person is coming in, eating at the front desk or whatever, I'm not watching people at the front desk in that avenue. I mean, I may come up there if I'm here in the village, but I cannot tell you, and I won't sit here and tell you that that didn't happen, because I don't know and I haven't seen that. High water bills? Water bills are the same. Water bills haven't went up. They're still $7.50 for 2000. Garbage bills went up. The garbage bill goes up every year 3%. That was voted in 2016, and that will go up for the next 12 years. Each year, your garbage bill will go up 3%, which is on your water bill. Your garbage and your water and your sewers are the same bill, and your utility back. Only thing out of all those is your sewer went up because we have mandated items that we have to do for the government, for the state, that they brought down mandated, so we had to raise that so we could take care of some of that as far as the infrastructure for the sewer. The water bill itself has not gone up since it went up to $7.50. That was like 4 years ago. Your garbage bill, yes it does. It goes up 3% every year. As far as me saying to businesses, do not give to some person, that's a lie. Why would I do that? I mean, I don't understand, but I mean, you can say whatever, and it's your word against whatever, fine, but I would never tell a business not to give to a person. I wish you could prove that, whoever that person said that, I wish you would be able to prove that, because I never said don't give to or whatever, and I never made the statement that I will not pass out or I don't want book bags being passed out. If you want to donate book bags, if you want to pass them out, by all means, It's for the residents. Have no problem with it. This phone system, there is going to be something that's going to be put in place, hopefully right after the holiday, where you'll have a tree where you'll call in and you'll be directed to where you want your message to be sent. If you want your message to be sent to, say, one of the trustees, they'll have a number. If you want your message to be sent to the village clerk, they'll have a number. Everything will be just like you do when you call some of these corporations. They'll tell you, press so-and-so for such and such a mailbox or their number. So that'll be incorporated hopefully right after the holiday, right after Thanksgiving holiday, rather. And that part there, I'm sorry that, and I understand that if you call and then you get called back, I'm sorry to hear that, because that's something that I would like to be more interactive when someone calls, to call that person back if there's a message. I mean, you call the village hall for a reason, we should get back with you for a reason. So I'm glad you let me know that. I will check on that tomorrow and find out, because that was something I had already asked, to make sure that when someone called, that's why I'm glad we put the tree in, to get back with them. You don't know what it is. And that's it. That being said, comments from the trustees. Trustee Brewer?
Okay, Mr. Mayor, first of all, the information that was provided today about the bonds, as you know, was sort of scattered and incomplete. The bond issue is a difficult area to grasp, so I know we're going to get a completed copy in Monday. We're going to do Friday. We got to review. Okay. Okay. So when we get this information, it's like I said, it's difficult to grasp. It's a difficult area. I don't care how many years you've been in there. But the point is that we're going to vote on it Tuesday. We don't have time to come back and sort of discuss the area anymore, because we're going to vote on it Tuesday. I think we should be given enough time to sort of digest the information and ask additional questions before we vote on it on Tuesday, because I don't think it's enough time. This is my opinion. As far as trustees go, as you know, I have been trying to ask for information. And I've been asking for this information for the last year and a half, relating to information I get from Robinson Engineering. This has nothing to do with a FOIA. Okay, this is information that they have someone on the side that Robinson Engineering has to do, ask questions. So I have always been told by Robinson Engineering that they would get back to me, or you would get back to me. I have yet to get any of that information. This is all information relating to infrastructure, repair and replacements. So just to let you know, the information is out there. A lot of this information I just jotted down the areas today, but those are things that we would like to take a look at and talk. And after we get the information, we need to talk to Robinson Engineering about what we can and cannot do.
You say we. You say who's we? You said we. Who is we? You said we. That's why I'm just asking you, what does we mean?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
I just asked a question.
I haven't finished
Who
my.
is we? That's all I'm
I'll
asking.
make that clear. Please don't interrupt me. Okay. Now, the information needed is going to be provided from Robinson Engineering. And after we get the information, we, meaning Robinson Engineering, and myself and whoever else wants to sit on the committee to sit and talk about infrastructure repair, what we can and cannot do. Anybody can go whenever we get the information from Robinson Engineering. With that being said, that trustees and the FOIAs, we have to, there has been, lately the FOIAs that I have been getting, they couple them together, and then they'll say they need additional time. to address the FOIAs. Now, I understand that, and last week, the director, Ms. Sutton, said that her thing was to do FOIAs first. But sometimes we need that information, especially those reports that we need in order to make an informed decision. So I don't know how you guys are going to do it, but some of those reports we really need in order to make informed decisions about finances, which we are all supposed to be here for. So I'm hoping to ask you again to get the kind of reports that I requested. And these are, I said, day-to-day reports. Shouldn't be anything where she didn't just put a button or something. But then I just like the answer to some of these things. And so residents won't be calling, trustees won't be calling. We have the information, we can probably look at what's going on here. Because we're kept in the dark on a lot of stuff that's going on. So that's the end of my report.
Trustee Zupan.
I had a question for the clerk, if I may, please. I know last week you had mentioned the holiday baskets, and one of the audience members mentioned the holiday baskets. And I don't recall a date being given. I don't know if you had given much thought to the planning of them just yet, but I was curious to know if you had, and if you had any information you could share with us tonight. I know you were saying that you were hoping the trustees would get involved, and I just was looking for more information from you. Other than that, I just wanted to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving this week, as I hope most of you are able to spend time with your families and enjoy the holiday time. Thank you.
Sure.
Yes, I did make that announcement during this village clerk's report last week, and at that time I reported that those who were interested that could to please meet today at 1:30. Sadly, I was here by myself, but I definitely welcome anyone's participation and involvement. We did quite a bit last year in terms of the letters that we sent out to the churches and to the schools and everything. And then today, after no one came, I thought I would use probably the same design as last year for the flyer. There was one flyer for the parents, another letter and flyer that went out to the schools, the churches, etc. We included a list, a shopping list of items that we preferred that would help to make a consistent and well-nutritious Christmas dinner. So I don't suspect that to change either. If you have any input, I greatly value and look forward to it. I understand that everybody cannot meet earlier in the day, and I had stated 1:30, and that was before I realized, though, that we did not have this evening off. And I thought that, you know, I would be able to get out and, you know, start celebrating and getting ready for Thanksgiving. That's why I made it at 1:30. However, if it's more convenient for others to meet later, I'm willing to do that as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hey, the only comment I have is there will be no Budget and Finance Committee meeting tomorrow due to the holidays, so that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to wish everyone a very safe and a happy Thanksgiving, and that's all I have.
Mr. Mayor, I have no comment for tonight.
Oh, you said you had no comment. I didn't hear that part. Okay, Only thing I have to say is everyone have a safe and enjoyable Thanksgiving time this weekend. Also, I remind everyone December 1st is the parade that'll be going through the village. I think we have a meeting. We do have a meeting next week. You'll be hearing more about that. But after that parade, we're gonna light the tree, and we'll have a little something at the community center along with Santa Claus will be there to take pictures. That'll be the first Saturday in December, December 1st. And the parade is gonna start that morning around 10 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, we're gonna light the tree. Weather permitting, I don't know what it's gonna look like, but weather permitting, we'll be lighting the tree. Hopefully, we're gonna walk from there here. Second of all, if anyone like to volunteer to help us put the Christmas trees up in the village, we're gonna put trees up out in the hallway, and then I think we have one here. We have one here that'll be inside the rotunda. So if there's anybody like to volunteer, please let me know, and because we're trying to get that started as soon as possible. And then also the float itself, we're going to be actually putting it together next Thursday before. I'm trying to think what date that is. I think it's the 28th or 29th. It'll be a Thursday, Friday at the firehouse. So if anyone would like to come by there to help us get the float together, we greatly appreciate it. That being said, on Thursday, both times would be after people get off work, so it'll be at Thursday would definitely be at 4 o'clock or 5, and then Friday the same thing, 4 o'clock to 5. Hopefully Thursday we can get it done in that one day and do the floats. If not, then we'll come back and do the Friday, and Saturday will be the actual parade. That being said, I'll accept the motion to adjourn. Yes.
What was the time certain for the parade you say?
The parade on Saturday is going to start at 10. And they're going to go around, and then we're going to wherever, I'm sure hopefully they'll be due by 5. At 5 o'clock, we'll have the lighting of the tree, and Santa Claus will be there to, hopefully he'll be thawed out by then so we can take pictures with the kids. Okay. I would recommend that. I'll accept the motion to adjourn. It was moved by Trustee Carter, second by Trustee Brewer. All in favor? Thank you.